Hello to all of you who work on the front lines providing support to women and men facing an unintended pregnancy, and all of those who work to support your team at a pregnancy center. My name is Marlene, and I have over 20 years of experience working frontline at a pregnancy center, and 16 of those years working as the client services director at First Place Options, a pregnancy center in Ottawa, Canada. I am now the co-founder of ClearLinQ Training and Coaching, along with my colleague and partner, Terry Mazik. And together we are on a mission to provide people just like you with the tools and support that you need to be successful in every aspect of what you do. Well, I hope you're all doing well. And whether you're working at your center or working from home, for me, I'm working from home now, and I would say there was a little bit of a juggle working from home, and just found a quiet moment to sit down and to share a few tips with you from my experience working at a pregnancy center. So today, I just want to be able to share a huge lesson that I learned. And gosh, I wish I had learned it many, many years earlier. I want to chat with you today about how I learned to engage callers in a way I hadn't previously considered. I want to share with you how you can engage every caller and how you can turn every one of them into a client. Now, I can hear the skepticism rising, and I know it sounds unbelievable, but it's true, and I can't wait to show you how. Let's begin by getting you into a comfortable space. Turn off all distractions and grab a cup of tea. This is going to make a huge difference, and you'll want to pay close attention. All right, are you ready? So like you, I've experienced that deep sense of satisfaction that comes from helping women faced with an unintended pregnancy. I don't know about you, but I can remember those golden moments when you really sense the turning point in the conversation. You know, that point where they begin to trust you and they begin to open up and share their concerns. Those moments when real meaningful engagement happens. I love those moments, and I think I'll always cherish those moments. With training and time, and of course experience, I bet most of you who are listening feel pretty confident when you engage one-on-one with your clients. But I wonder if some of you have the same level of confidence when speaking with someone over the phone, especially when you get a call from someone who wants to book an appointment for an abortion. I can almost hear your heads nodding, because my head's nodding too. Have you ever thought back to things you used to say or how you used to say them and literally wanted to crawl into a hole of embarrassment? I have, and I have to remind myself in those moments that I only knew what I knew at the time, and I really have to let myself off the hook on that one. But I have to share with you that I clearly remember the first time someone called and I answered the phone and they wanted to book an appointment for an abortion. I literally froze. And I think I remember covering the receiver and mouthing to my colleague, "She wants to book an abortion," and really gesturing for some help to know what to say. And I think in the end, I end up saying that we didn't recommend or refer for abortion. And needless to say, that did quickly end the call. And if that's you today, I feel your pain. However, I don't want to leave you there. There is so much more that we could offer. And for me, I had hundreds of calls like this over the years. But thankfully, somehow, at some point, I decided that it was no longer in the person's best interest who was calling to close down the conversation. So I started asking questions. 1, 2, 3, and eventually I was engaging in 20-minute conversations. And sometimes that ended up being multiple conversations. And these weren't all conversations with expectant women. These were calls with their partners and sometimes even their parents. As a result, I have to say that because of these conversations, these women started booking appointments to come in to meet with an options counselor. I guess when they realized that what the conversations were doing is they were helping them see that they really didn't make the decision to have an abortion. They just wanted to stop or to not be pregnant. And that was eye-opening for me. And it was eye-opening for them as well. Let's be honest, for many of us, the idea of engaging an abortion-decided client on the phone, that would make any of us feel nervous. It feels risky to put yourself or ourselves out there with the chance of being shut down. If it helps, I always try to imagine how hard it was for the caller to make the decision to call us in the first place. They needed to talk to someone, and I decided I could be there for them. Maybe you're feeling you don't always know what to say. And if I'm being honest, I used to believe that I had to convince women somehow to book an options counseling appointment. Isn't that crazy? That's so much pressure. I felt it, and I bet you have at some point felt that too. I had to learn through this process to pare down my questions, to help the client do more self-assessment, because really the heart of the conversation really happens face to face. And I wanted to make sure that I had every opportunity to do that with those who felt that they needed this support. Hopefully, as I go through my tips with you, you'll also feel more equipped and you'll know what questions to ask, and you will also feel a whole lot more confident in your interactions. And also, not all of us feel this way, but sometimes we do feel this heavy weight of responsibility to get it right, whether it's in person or on the phone. And thankfully, though, the questions that we've designed are short and they're easy to apply and they are very effective. So, without further delay, I'm going to reveal the exact process I have personally used to convert every caller into a client. And as I said before, it works every single time. So just as a recap, before we dive into each of the 4 questions, I'm going to guide you through. 1, we're going to help you engage your clients in a meaningful way and that you feel confident. We're going to guide you through the simple 4-step process. And it's also going to help you see how to organically convert every caller to a client. So let's go. The first step is to assess what opportunities you have when someone calls to speak with you. It really is a change in your perspective that will have a direct impact on how the callers respond, really making hang-ups a thing of the past and completely reducing the pressure you may feel to inundate callers in an attempt to engage them with you. So we have some opportunities, and I want to be able to start by just looking at those. We have the opportunity to empathize, to ask questions, to clarify, to reflect, and then ultimately to engage them in a discussion that will help them self-assess their need for support. So it all starts with empathy. Empathy and one simple question. We all know from experience that most women who are faced with an unintended pregnancy rarely ever tell anyone else that they think they may be pregnant or in any way ambivalent about their decision. I always imagined myself as a trusted friend who hears the news for the first time. What would I say? In my experience, an empathetic response was always the right decision. Sometimes I would repeat back to the caller what I heard them say, but I would always respond by telling them how genuinely sorry I was to hear that they were going through such a difficult time. It's like the saying we all know. People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. You may be the very first person they've ever told about their pregnancy or potential pregnancy. I would follow up with my first question. I would ask, is it okay if I asked you 4 simple questions? It may be hard to believe, but every single person was open to me asking the 4 simple questions. 4 questions allowed them to self-assess their need for support. The first question I would ask was, do you feel like you have enough information about your options to make a decision? Now, initially, I was looking for a yes or no response to this question, but it always gave me the opportunity to ask a few more subsequent questions. And let's just take a moment to look at the value of asking that particular question. Asking the caller what they knew about their options allowed me to learn what they knew, learn where they heard it from. We all know people can do a lot of researching on the internet and get a whole lot of differing opinions. It also allowed me the opportunity to learn what was most important to them, to correct any misperceptions they may have, or give them an opportunity to say what they knew out loud, maybe for the first time. Give the clients the opportunity to slow down and begin to process what they think they knew. And give the clients the opportunity to share their concerns with someone who wasn't personally involved in the decision. The second question I would ask was, do you feel you have weighed the benefits and risks or the pros and cons of your options? And have you assessed what you value most? Now, again, I was looking for a yes or no response, but it almost always caused the caller to ask me what I meant by that question, which allowed for much more discussion. So let's take a look at the value of asking the caller whether or not they have weighed the pros and cons of their decision. So this allowed me to understand, what have they really processed? Where have they gained or gathered their information from? It allowed me to have insight into what they value most and really what they were trying to avoid. It allowed me to give the caller a space to process what mattered most to them. As you know from your experience, finding out that you're facing an unintended pregnancy, there's a lot of pressure, in particular time, and often we found that people didn't create the space to really dig deep and discover what they valued most. So that was an important aspect. But it also allowed me the opportunity to help the caller explore how they arrived at their decision. So I'd always say something like, paint me a picture of what that looked like. And it also allowed me to help the caller assess if they were still in conflict about their decision, and potentially help them assess whether they needed further clarification about their values. So that was the second question. The third question I would ask was, do you feel that you have enough support at this time to make a decision? Now, just like the other two, I was looking for a yes or no response. but I was also wanting them to assess if they still needed to talk to someone. Remember that most people don't speak to anyone about their pregnancy until they've made a decision. So asking the caller if they feel like they have enough support to make this decision always allowed me the opportunity to understand, or hopefully understand, what their relationship status was. Whether or not they were being pressured maybe into having an abortion. That's key. And sometimes the pressure can outweigh the process. And it's really important to check in on that, or to listen for that in the conversation. Listen to who they may have told about the pregnancy or decision. And if they've had a safe place to share what they've been feeling, whether it's been conflict or pressure about the decision. And of course, assess if they wanted to talk to someone about how they were feeling. So moving on to the fourth and final question I would ask was, do you feel certain about your decision? Although, like the other three, I was looking for a yes or no response, I was also asking if they were in some way ambivalent about their decision. Now, I would always say for sure that you can't be 100% sure of every decision you make, but they did need to assess if there was a level of confidence that they had in regards to this decision. So, looking at, again, the value of asking this question allowed me the opportunity to have insight into what was contributing to perhaps some indecision. Give the caller really an opportunity to say out loud that maybe she wasn't as confident as she wanted to be. And give the caller a space to assess what that percentage looked like. So if she was at 60% confident in her decision and really wanted to be more at 90 or even 100 in her personal situation, why wasn't she there? And give the caller the opportunity to explore what was needed to gain that confidence. So now we've really looked at all four questions, and they're both very unique and very insightful as you're speaking with a caller. Now, I would always wrap up the questions by asking the caller to reflect on if they said no to any of the four questions. And then to follow that up by, if they did, say that in our experience, we have seen that if someone answered no to any of the four questions, they could benefit from speaking to someone. And I would follow that up by saying that is exactly why we exist, to support someone like them who is faced with some uncertainty about one or two or many elements of their decision. And sometimes that meant booking an appointment right away for options counseling. And sometimes that meant asking the caller to book an appointment with their doctor or to take a home pregnancy test, followed by perhaps an options counseling appointment at a future date. Or it meant a follow-up call a few days later. Either way, this became such a crucial service that we started looking at it as a service to our clients. We decided to value the interaction and the value that these interactions and conversations brought to each person, even if we never met them face to face. The caller essentially became a client where we would meet and we would have one-on-one conversations with them by phone or a combination of on the phone or in person. So let's do a little recap of the questions. Number 1, do you feel like you have enough information about your options to make a decision? Do you feel you have weighed the benefits and risks, or the pros and cons of your options, and have assessed what you value most? Do you feel you have enough support to make a decision? And finally, do you feel certain about your decision? Now I'm going to leave you with a story. It's a condensed version of the story. but I hope you will see the reason why I'm sharing it with you. So a number of years ago, I received a call from a man named Greg, who called to ask how he could convince his common law partner, Eva, to have an abortion. Now, of course, once I was able to clarify with Greg that we do not provide that kind of advice that he was looking for, I went through the 4 questions with Greg, just like I would with any other caller. And he decided that since his partner, Eva, was undecided, that they would both come in together for an options counseling appointment. I had the privilege of providing two options counseling appointment meetings with this couple. For Greg, he was really frustrated that he wasn't able to convince Eva to have an abortion. However, once Eva had the opportunity to share with Greg in the counseling room that becoming pregnant, although really not an ideal time, was of deep value to her, then Greg felt he no longer was in a position to compromise her values, and instead he decided to support her. And 7 months later, I had not heard from them during that whole period. Greg called and made an appointment to come back to see me because he wanted to introduce me to his brand new baby girl and to thank us for providing space for them as a couple to work through the decision. Now, thank you for being willing to learn how to engage callers in this new way, because you never, ever know whose life you're going to impact. So just in wrapping up, because you participated in this video today, we have provided you with a free link that you can download on the 4 simple questions, and you can start implementing it right away. If you have any questions, you can contact us, ClearLinQ Training and Coaching, and staying in touch with us by email or liking us on any of our social media pages. Upcoming next week, we're going to have another huge giveaway. And for a limited time, we will be giving away free access to My Decision Aid, a tool that you can use in the counseling room, and you can use it in person, and you can use it remotely with your clients. And we are so excited to share this with you. So it's been wonderful spending this time with you. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep informed. Bye, everyone.